All right, so today we're going to talk about our vocabulary section 4.1. And our first word that we're going to talk about is technology. Now, you guys have a decent idea of what technology is, but you may not know some of the things that actually may include. Now, a lot of times you think of technology as like your smartphone or something basically that's a machine or uses electricity, but that's not all technology. We had plenty of technology before we even had electricity. But a lot of modern day technology absolutely uses electricity or uses that type of energy. But there's a lot of examples beforehand, and that's what we're going to talk about. So our definition of technology is simply how people modify the world around them to meet their needs or solve practical problems. So notice it says nothing about using electricity or battery or circuits or any of those things that we commonly think of technology. It's really just about how we're modifying the world around us, making tools, making things that'll help us really help make our lives easier is ultimately the driving force of technology. We want to continue to improve upon things. So the example I use then is one you may not commonly think of. It's, for example, going to be eyeglasses improve your ability to see. Well, that's something that, it's how we modify the world, right? As you know, I wear glasses, I need them. They help me quite a bit. And it's a practical problem. It's something that, makes sense, something that we can reasonably solve. There's some things like, yes, I would love to be able to solve, all these really big ideas, but they're not very feasible. They're not easy to solve. We start with smaller things, and in this case, right, just the vision in that piece. So then, obviously for my picture then, I have a pair of just standard glasses, as that's an image of a form of technology. On to word number 2, we have engineer. Now you guys have probably heard of engineers before. You may not realize how entirely broad of a category this is. Now we're briefly going to talk about them here in this unit for 4.1. We're going to talk about them later as we move through the chapter about the different types of engineers. So an engineer, just again looking at the definition, is a person who uses both technological, so they use technology, and scientific knowledge to solve practical problems. So again, they're solving problems that we can reasonably accomplish. So our example here being an engineer might design a machine that uses wind to produce electricity. That's something that exists, right? So here I have one of those windmills right here. We have some engineers actually working on it. I know this might be something for you guys that might be kind of hard to draw, but drawing like a windmill or something like that, if you can draw something this detailed, by all means go for it. But it doesn't need to be obviously quite this complex. It's easier for me to put a picture in there than it is to draw it. I know you could have an engineer for all sorts of different things. We'll talk about them, but right, there's chemical engineers, there's electrical engineers, civil engineers. There's all these different types of engineers that do very specific things, and it's a very, very broad category. So that's why our definition is really broad too. Basically, engineers, anyone that uses some technology and some scientific knowledge to really solve a problem. So we'll be doing some different labs, and technically you're absolutely an engineer because you're by definition doing those things. Now our next word is obsolete. So now the definition is rather straightforward, no longer in use. So something that's obsolete is really something that has been updated. It doesn't really have a place anymore. It doesn't have a real functional role. A lot of times you could find a lot of these in a museum maybe. Okay, so my example is a typewriter. Typewriters are no longer in use, or they're no longer used to make written documents, right? We have laptops, we have computers with Microsoft Office or Google Docs or all these different types of electronic things that have so many more benefits that you really don't use the typewriter for its functionality. Now, sure, some people use it kind of with nostalgia, right? Just reminiscing on it, or for the fun of it, just to kind of use a typewriter. They just like it. But as far as functional use, it has no perceivable advantage over using what we currently have. And so that's really when we're looking at things that are obsolete. They're things that don't really have a place. They're really outdated, but don't really use anymore. And so we'll talk again more about these later on in the unit. All right, so now our final word is going to be goal. Now we're talking goal, we're talking not scoring a goal in soccer or something like that. We're talking about our target or our objective or our purpose, right? So our definition for goal is the purpose of something. So when we design things in science, when we create some product, it has a goal, it has a purpose, it has some sort of place to fill, something that it'll help us do. Maybe that makes our lives easier. Maybe it allows our devices to charge faster. Maybe it allows our cars to be more efficient. It has a goal in mind, some sort of purpose. And so our example being a digital music player's goal is to allow you to listen to music. Right, so a digital music player, right? A lot of people use their phone now. We still have some iPods around or other different music players, absolutely. And their purpose, it allows to listen to music, right? If they don't produce music, or rather don't allow us to listen to the music we have, then they're not really achieving their goal, their objective, their purpose. And so that's kind of one thing we always want to keep in mind, is, when we're designing things. Well, what's our purpose? What are we trying to accomplish here? And so it can be a real important thing to make sure we focus on. And that just about wraps up this video. It's only 4 words for this unit, so not too bad. If you got questions, absolutely let me know in class. Thank you.